What's going on, guys? Brian from Zombie Guitar here. First, I wanted to just say thank you to Adam. Adam has given me the opportunity to do a guest blog post for his blog, Musical You. So thank you for that opportunity, Adam. The topic of this lesson is beginning modal improvisation. Alright, so this lesson is going to be divided into three parts. The first part is going to be what the goal of using a mode would be, as opposed to just playing within a key or something like that. The second part is going to be fretboard applications. So we're going to take a look at the minor pentatonic scale, and then adding some notes to the minor pentatonic scale to essentially create either the Aeolian mode or the Dorian mode. And then the third part is going to be, we're going to look deeper into the theory behind modes and when to use them. Okay? So with that said, let's get started. Okay, so the number one most important thing that I want you to understand about modal improvisation is that modes are sounds. Okay? Modes have a specific sound that they produce, a specific feeling that is created with the music written in a particular mode. So the easiest way to understand this, even if you don't know anything about modes at all, is to simply compare a major key versus a minor key. Okay, so a major key is also known as the Ionian mode. A minor key is also known as the Aeolian mode. Alright, so if you take a piece of music and you write it within a major key, and then as the lead guitar player, your scalar improvisational framework that you would use to create your solos in would be the major scale, that piece of music would be written in the Ionian mode. And it would sound happy, it would sound bright, it would sound cheery, it would sound like a piece of music that is written in the major key, otherwise known as the Ionian mode. Then on the other hand, you could do the same thing. You could write a piece of music in a minor key, and then as the lead guitar player, your improvisational framework would be the minor scale. That piece of music would have a significantly different sound. It would sound darker, it would sound sadder, it would sound bluesier. Okay? So it's very, very obvious that the Ionian mode and the Aeolian mode sound significantly different from one another. So if you can understand that concept, you understand that modes have their own unique sound. So those are the two most common modes, okay? You still have 5 other modes that you can use. You have the Dorian mode, you have the Phrygian mode, you have the Lydian mode, you have the Mixolydian mode, and you have the Locrian mode. So you have 5 other completely unique sounds for which a piece of music can be written in, and you can use that particular mode as your scalar improvisational framework to solo in, and then write that piece of music in that particular mode, and it's going to sound different from the Aeolian mode, and it's going to sound different from the Ionian mode. Okay, so you already know that the Aeolian mode and the Ionian mode, otherwise known as the minor key and the major key, are 2 significantly different sounding modes. But those are the most common ones, okay? Those, you're not necessarily modal playing when you're playing in a major key or a minor key, okay? You can call it modal playing, but for the purpose of the rest of this lesson, we're going to be looking at the Aeolian mode versus the Dorian mode. So once you start moving into things like Dorian, Lydian, Mixolydian, things like that, then you can start saying that you're modal playing, all right? So the 2 examples that I did in the demo in the beginning, the first one was an A Dorian, and the second one was A Aeolian, all right? And they both sounded significantly different from one another. They both shared the same root as A, but they had uniquely different sounds, okay? Dorian sounded different than Aeolian. Dorian also sounds different than Ionian, okay? Dorian is its own unique sound. All right, but the funny thing here is that the only difference between the Aeolian mode and the Dorian mode is just one single note. All right, so let me explain that. So if you take your minor pentatonic scale as your shell, your starting shell, it would look like this. Okay, so you have 5 notes before you repeat back on the A again. So in order to turn the minor pentatonic scale into the natural minor scale, you would add 2 notes, okay? And here is the natural minor scale. Okay? So the pentatonic minor scale is just simply using 5 of the 7 notes of the natural minor scale, otherwise known as the Aeolian mode. So now if you wanted to turn that into the Dorian mode only differs from the Aeolian mode by one single note. And that is if you take the 6th note of the natural minor scale and you raise it by 1/2 step, the result is the Dorian mode. So let's see what that looks like. As you can see, it sounds pretty different. So rather than doing that stretch and playing up here on the 9th fret of the A string, you can also take that same note and you can move it to the D string, 4th fret. It's the same note, accomplishing the same thing. You're just raising that 6th degree of the natural minor scale by 1/2 step. Okay, so comparing the natural minor scale to the Dorian mode back to back, you have okay, only 1 note difference, but that 1 note difference makes a significant difference in the sound that is to be produced. So now you can take this and you can span it across all 6 strings, and essentially you're just expanding to 2 octaves instead of just playing it in 1 octave. Alright, so you can start out with your minor pentatonic scale as your shell. Okay, and then you can add your 2 notes to each octave to create the A minor scale, or the A Aeolian mode if you want to call it that. Okay, and then you can alter that and raise the 6th degree by 1/2 step, and the result is the A Dorian mode. if you wanted to improvise in either one of them, the result is going to be a significantly different sound produced. Okay, so if you're improvising in the Aeolian mode, okay, versus the Dorian mode. Okay, now of course you can expand this concept to span the entire fretboard as well. Even though the demos in the beginning were only done using just one single position, just this little 5-fret area right here on the 5th fret, you can expand this to cover the entire fretboard. So let's take a look at that. So here you see your A minor pentatonic scale spanned across the entire neck of the guitar. Okay, all the white dots indicate the note A everywhere on the guitar, so every white dot is every A on the guitar. And this is your pentatonic scale spanned across the entire fretboard. Alright, so you can go ahead and you can add your 2 notes to each of these positions and all the octaves all up and down the neck of the guitar, and the result is the A minor scale, or the A natural minor scale, otherwise the A Aeolian mode. So if you hit nothing but these notes and you're playing within this scalar framework up and down the neck of the guitar, the result is the A Aeolian mode. You are playing the A Aeolian mode. You are producing a sound that is that of the A Aeolian mode. Alright, so then you can go ahead and you can alter that one note every 6th degree, that one note, and your result is the A Dorian mode. Alright, I now color the notes brown because I use brown for Dorian, I use white for Aeolian. It's just my coloring scheme. But still, the colored note still indicates all the A's up and down the neck of the guitar. But this is now your A Dorian mode as your scalar framework for which to improvise in. Alright? So if you stick to only these notes and you're playing only these notes, the sound that you're producing is Dorian. You're producing the Dorian sound. You are playing within the A Dorian mode. It has a uniquely different sound than that of the A Aeolian mode. Alright, so in this part we're going to take a look at the theory. Alright, but one thing you want to understand is that sometimes you can break the rules, and even though it's not theoretically correct, it may still be the best choice. So always let your ear be the guide. Alright, so if you decide that you want to play the Dorian mode as your improvisational framework over top of something which technically should not use the Dorian mode, but you think it sounds good, well, go ahead and do it, okay? If it sounds good to the ear, it's okay, alright? So that's one thing to keep in mind. But there are some rules, and that's what I'm going to talk about in this section. So, a general rule of thumb, the more chords that are in a chord progression, the more likely it is to not be modal. Okay, the more chords that you have, the more likely it is to either be a major key or a minor key. Alright? So modes typically work best over 1 chord, 2 chords, maybe 3 chords. But once you start getting into anything more than 3 chords, you're probably not modal playing anymore. You're probably going to be key-based playing. Alright? But essentially, the easiest way to explain this is by taking a look at the circle of fifths. So if you look at the circle of fifths, the circle of fifths groups all of the chords for each key in groupings of 6 like so. So if you're in the key of C major / A minor, they're relative to one another. Your 6 diatonic chords are here. If you're in the key of G major / E minor, those are relative to one another. Your 6 diatonic chords are here. If you're in the key of D major / B minor, your 6 diatonic chords are here. Okay? So you can write pieces of music that use chords all within a single key, and the more chords that you use, the more likely it is going to be either major or minor. So the Aeolian mode and the Dorian mode are minor types of modes. Alright? So essentially they work best over single minor chords, or they work best over progressions that are minor progressions. Alright? And as I said, the more chords that you introduce into the progression, the more likely it is to be key-based, and therefore trying to apply a mode over the entire progression as your improvisational framework may not be the best course of action, okay? If it sounds good to the ear, it's fine, but theoretically, the less chords there are, the more of a chance that a mode is going to work over the whole thing, all right? So these are minor types of progressions, okay? The progressions that I was using to solo over in the beginning examples, for the Aeolian mode, I was soloing over A minor, moving to G major, moving to F major, moving to G major, and then back to A minor. So that sounded like this. Okay, then when I was soloing with the A Dorian mode, I was moving from the A minor chord to the D major chord, and I was just using 2 chords, and that sounded like this. Okay, so how did I know to use the Dorian mode over the one and the Aeolian mode over the other? Well, again, you could try both. You could use your ear and see which one sounds better to you. But I like to actually analyze the chords and see what key they're in and see where they fall, within the diatonic chords per key. And the easiest way to do that is to take a look at the circle of fifths. We're going to be looking at minor keys, okay? So the inner circle is all the minor keys. If you're in the key of A minor, your 6 diatonic chords are here. All right, this grouping of 6 is all 6 diatonic chords for the key of A minor. Okay, or 6 of the 7 diatonic chords for the key of A minor. If you're in the key of E minor, here's 6 of the diatonic chords for the key of E minor. If you're in the key of B minor, here's the 6 diatonic chords for the key of B minor. F sharp minor, here's those 6 diatonic chords, okay? So I like to take a look and see what the chords are that I'm soloing over. So when I was using A minor and then the G major and the F major were present, all those chords fell right into this grouping of 6 right here, okay? The A minor being the center minor chord right on the inner circle. That one was right there, and it also contained 2 other chords within this grouping, all right? So it was pretty obvious that A minor was the scale to use a Aeolian mode. Okay, so that chord that falls right in the inner circle, right in the center position of the grouping of 6, that is known as the 6th chord, all right? Roman numeral numbering system for chord progressions, that would be the 6th chord, okay? So when the 6th chord is present, along with some of the other chords within the grouping of 6, you can be fairly certain that the mode that you should use would just simply be the Aeolian mode, otherwise known as the minor scale, and that piece of music is in the minor key, okay? So if the 6th chord is present, along with some other chords in the grouping, it's the Aeolian mode, all right? So if the 6th chord is not present, but another minor chord is present within the grouping of 6, along with some other chords in there, okay? So you have another minor chord, but not the 6th chord, and some other chords, then there's a good chance that modal playing would start to come into play. All right. Now it's the Dorian mode when it's the 2 chord. All right. So the 2 chord within this grouping of 6 always falls on the inner circle in the counterclockwise direction. All right. So if that 2 chord is present, along with some other chords in the grouping of 6, but the 6th chord is not present, that's a good indication that the Dorian mode would apply. All right, so for the first example, we had A minor, we had F major, and we had G major. Okay, that was right in that grouping of 6, A minor, right in that center position. The 6th chord was present, along with some other chords in that grouping of 6. Aeolian mode was the mode to use. The second example, okay, you had that D major chord, okay, which doesn't fall into that grouping of 6, but it does fall into this grouping of 6 here, okay, and the A minor was present, which falls into the inner circle counterclockwise position, which is the 2 chord. And then it also had the D major chord. Okay, so we're in this other grouping of 6 now, which contains the 2 chord plus another chord. Therefore, it was a safe assumption to say that the Dorian mode would apply. And as you heard, the Dorian mode did apply, and it sounded very good over, that 2 chord progression. Okay, so you can always analyze things in this manner. You can take a look at the chords that are being played by the rhythm section, and you can ask yourself, okay, grouping of 6 chords, where are these chords coming from? Is the 6th chord present? Yes. Then it's a good indication that the Aeolian mode would be the mode that applies. If you look at a grouping of 6 and the 6th chord is not present, but another minor chord is present, specifically the 2 chord, inner circle, counterclockwise position, along with some other chords within that grouping of 6, it's a safe assumption to say that the Dorian mode would apply. So that's going to be it for this lesson. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and either Adam or I will help you out. And thanks a lot for watching.